Oh man, this video. Yeah, we're talking about tipping. Apparently this is a divisive issue, a controversial issue. I don't understand how this can be. And I'm definitely going to be on the side of the servers, guys. I definitely going to be on their side here. If you ever had that sort of job, okay, you know it sucks. You know you have to deal with customers. You have to wait on them. And they expect good service. You try to give it to them and all that. Oh, so yeah, I'm just letting you know right now. If you want to make up your mind where you want to like this video or dislike it, you go ahead. You go ahead. But hey, you know, I'm on the side of the worker here, okay? And they're in a situation where, yeah, they're gonna need a tip in order to make up for the fact that they're being paid below minimum wage in most places. It's state by state, and here we're talking about the states. You can talk about what happens in Europe and all that. That's what I actually don't care, because we're not in Europe. This doesn't pertain to Europe. This doesn't pertain to any other country. This is like an American thing, okay? I don't know how they got there. I don't know how they got it to where they do the things they do over there. But it doesn't change the fact that we are in this situation now, and been in this situation, and not tipping isn't going to change anything, especially when you use the service. Like if you go to a sit-down restaurant, order from a menu, get served drink, food, and all the other stuff, like, you know, sauce or whatever, it's like Mexican restaurant or whatever. You waited on, and your intention from the beginning was to not tip, knowing that is part of their wage there. That is kind of like part of it. You yourself are the ass. You could say the employer's the ass. Okay, you have an argument there, but you also are the ass. So you could say that the employer's crapping on the wait staff by not paying him a living wage, but you're also crapping on the wait staff by knowingly partaking in that, and just go ahead and just defecating so rudely on the wait staff after enjoying your meal, enjoying being waited on. You didn't go get the food yourself. You didn't do all that stuff. So if you don't like the service, you don't like the act of all that, then don't do it. Now, we'll say there's certain things you don't tip for, like coffee. I don't tip for coffee. Like Starbucks, I don't tip. Why? Go to a gas station? Why? I don't do that. Like, and if the service is miserable at the restaurant, then don't tip. But if the service is good, then you tip. It's just plain and simple. Unless you're cheap. If you're a cheap person looking for an excuse, like, oh, I don't want to tip because really their employer should pay them better, blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, you just partaked in this. You were just waited on, and now you're looking for excuses because you're a lazy, cheap person. You have the money. You had the money to go eat out. You can't do 10%. You can't do that. You can't. Oh, something tells me you're lying. Anyway, I'll go ahead and frame it that way. That way you know whether or not you want to continue or not. Let's go ahead. This is Asmongold. I'm going to respond to him. Here we go. Let's put this on the screen. Press the play button and get into this. This should be good.
Got me a Diet Coke. Thank you. That was your job. You don't get 25%.
Oh, let's back up.
Man refusing to tip says servers shouldn't get 25% for doing their job. What happened where, like, this is now a news story? Like, what?
But that's a good point. Why is this now a news story? This was a conversation that happened in a movie, Reservoir Dogs. You tip for good service. You don't tip all the time. You tip for good service. Good service. Yes.
Why has this become a news story? Is there a video for this? Let me see if I can find it.
No, it was a line. You don't tip unconditionally. Yeah, that's right.
It is. Okay, so where's the dude's video? Is this like a video or what? Is this a video? Like, can I...
Oh my god, yes, it's a video, Asmon. It's a video.
Watch him talk about this, or it's an AI article? Like, wait. So they did... Is this man real?
Okay, we're about to get a take on tipping from a guy who can't tell that this is a real guy talking about this. Okay.
Is this a real person?
Yes, it's a real person.
I don't even know if it is.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of Dustin Andersons. I mean, it seems like a pretty common name, right? But like, there's a lot of white guys here, but none of them really look like this guy specifically, right? Because he's got blue eyes. Maybe this guy? Like, I don't know.
Oh my God.
We found it. Okay, all right.
I
So,
left that in here to kind of show you where it's coming from.
but this is a real
Where this
person.
take
We
is coming
thought this
from
wasn't
here.
a real person. It turns out it is. Let's go ahead and
So
look
he didn't even know this is a real person. It's like, bro, it's a real person. Oh my God.
at this.
So I'm not tipping anymore. I'm done. I'm out. Used to be you would give a tip if somebody gave exceptional service. When was the last time you got exceptional service anywhere?
If you sit down at a restaurant and they give you bad service, I understand. If they give you good service, like they actually wait on you, like they're actually there, they fill up your drinks, they make sure your tea's always, like, there's certain restaurants I go to, they make sure your drink is always full. They wait on you very well. You get your food. It's great. Love it. They make sure your salsa bowls are where they need to be. I love it. Love that. Yeah, I tip. Especially if there's like, you know, they converse with me, I talk with them, and it's pleasant. Oh, yeah, that's great. I tip. Yeah, I tip.
And it's just expected. They bring you the bill at the end and they're like, here, just fill this out.
Of course it's expected. Here in America, wait staff, it's expected, you dumbass. It's expected. It's part of it. Depending on what state you're in, they get paid below minimum wage. It's like, what, is it even $7? Is it even that? I mean, it is expected. It's like you don't go to a strip club not expecting to tip the dancers, right? No, you go there expecting to tip the dancers. You go to a restaurant. I'm making sure that we're clear here. You go to a restaurant where you sit down, you order from a menu and all that stuff. You're there. The expectation is, yeah, you will tip if it's good service. And not doing so makes you the asshole. Just make that clear. Crystal clear here.
20%, 25%.
Like this guy is a flat 20, 25%. What are you talking about 20, 25%? Dude, that's not even the minimum expectation. What are you talking about? Like, unless you have like a big party, what are you talking about?
You did your job. They made food. You carried it to my table.
Then wait yourself. Then if you don't like that, then how about you be home and you grill the steak yourself? How about you make the food and you wait on yourself? You do all that stuff. When you go to one of those places, they're waiting on you. They get you your drink, they get you your food, whatever. You'd be like, oh, that's not even a real job. It's not even a real job. It's a crappy job. Ever been a server before? This freaking guy enrages me. And the stuff that Asmongold is about to say pisses me off, where I want to punch the monitor with my fist. If you ever had one of these jobs, you know how crappy it is. And yes, it's possible to make pretty good with tips. It is. It is. But it just grinds my freaking gears, man.
You got me a Diet Coke. Thank you.
Especially this guy, that truck in the background. Oh, I know this guy has freaking money. I know he can freaking afford it.
Your job. You don't get 25% because you did your job. And I'm not the bad
That's the expectation, dumbass.
guy here. I'm not. If you own a restaurant, just tell me what it costs.
It costs exactly that. If you didn't want to pay, let me tell you something. Here in America, if you want a restaurant that doesn't have if you want a restaurant that has wait staff that isn't going to be expecting tips, they're probably gonna and you want them to pay them more, like a living wage, as some people will say, whatever. They expect the prices to increase, because it's not like the company is going to be like, oh, okay, we're going to eat that cost. No, it'll be like, okay, well, we're going to put that cost on you guys. We're going to increase the price of the foods. So now your $15 burger is now a $20 burger. Your $20 burger is now a $30 burger. Okay? I mean, that's what it costs. That's what it costs there. This is so dumb.
I don't want people to go hungry. What does it cost for
Clearly,
me?
you don't. I mean, go hungry, dude. This guy says, tell me what it costs. They gave you the freaking bill, dumbass.
Get my food, and also so that the wait staff doesn't have to join the cartel, do some Lord of the Flies, Oliver Twist.
Man,
like,
I want to just slap this guy in the face.
I want people to be taken care of. Just tell me what it costs.
Just go ask Europe. They figured it out a long time ago.
Ask Europe, they figured out. I don't. Okay, that doesn't solve this. That doesn't solve this. I mean, like what? You wanna look for a way to redesign the I guess that whole model there of the restaurant, the wait staff, and the customer. You want to totally redesign that. Good luck doing that, because let's say there's a restaurant that stops the whole tip expectation. Let's say they're like, no more tips. Our wait staff are paid a set wage. That is it. No more tips. There's two things that are going to happen. The food price will go up, and the wait staff working there are going to quit, because they could probably make more working at a place where there's tips. I mean, that's the reality there. That's the reality there. See, they're framing like the wait staff are, the wait staff are paid below minimum. Okay. But like, if the expectation is that like, if you give good service, you'll be tipped. Okay. In that model there, actually, you got to think about this too. That model there is an incentive so that the wait staff is responsive, so the wait staff is on point and making sure your drinks are filled up, making sure you've been waited on timely, and they come around and all that stuff. Okay, it's like incentive for them to work harder. Okay, if you take that incentive away, they get a set wage. It's like, okay, now the wait on you whenever they freaking feel like it, and you know what? That's it. So there's two things. The wait staff will probably quit, go to another place, and the restaurant will hike up the prices to be able to afford that wage, to pay their employees that wage, their wait staff that wage. The other thing that could happen, a third thing that could happen, is that let's say that restaurant does that. There's other restaurants around. They're still going to have the tipping model, and guess what? Their food prices might be a little bit cheaper. And they're probably going to outcompete that one business that Charlie changed their model. So what I'm saying here, like, it's not realistic. This is not something that's good. You can be like, oh, what about Europe? Nutshell, I don't give a damn, because we're not in Europe. We're not in Europe. And Asmongold has no idea how they figured that out. He just knows that's a fact. Oh, in Europe and other places, they don't tip. Okay, yeah, we know that. How did they get there? I don't know, and I also don't care, because this is the situation we're in now. Okay, like you could be all like high-minded and be like huffing your farts about this. Be like, well, actually, I think the tipping model is exploitative in various reasons, various ways, and I don't think I should tip for this service. It doesn't change the fact that you are the asshole for going to a sit-down restaurant, ordering from a menu, being waited on and all that stuff, and knowing full well, even if you had great service, that you're not even going to do at least 10% on that. And you'd be like, well, like I said in the beginning of this, be like, oh, well, the employer's the asshole. Be like, because they don't pay him a living wage. But it's like, it goes in circles. Be like, so what, you want to say, you're saying that your argument is that the employer is shafting, is stiffing, or the employer is shafting the wait staff. So you're going to go ahead and stiff the wait staff to make things better? That does not make any sense. And then think, oh, the wait staff will quit. If everyone stopped tipping, the wait staff will quit. I'll tell you what happened. The wait staff will stop waiting on you for damn sure. We'll quit. We'll quit. I mean, I guess they'll find the other restaurant people are tipping. I'll be like, oh, hypothetically, if everyone did it, they'll quit. Okay. Well, then where are you going to go? You can go to these restaurants? There's not going to be any wait staff. Oh, the employer's going to pay better. Well, here's the reality of that. You guys aren't going to do that. You guys are just not going to do that at all. Because the process of doing that, to get to that end goal of like everyone not tipping, and to the point to where employers are going to totally change everything, you're going to have to go through a lot of uncomfortable situations and moments where the wait staff are just not there and are giving you even below poor service. Okay, all right. It's like, and Americans do not like to be inconvenienced. They don't like to have to wait, so that's not going to happen. So, like you're not going to get to that point to where employers are going to have to redesign everything. It's just not happening. Like you whole like I don't want to tip because I want to be a revolutionary and hope these wait staff like will quit in mass and demand a better wage. So they don't have a living wage, so they don't have to depend on live off these tips. Oh, but you're such a bleeding heart that you went to that restaurant anyway, knowing that they depended on those tips. Oh, cut me a break. Okay, you want a violin? Come on now.
Yeah, what do you mean? So let's go ahead here and we'll look and see what the comments are on this topic, right? And so you read this, yes, tipping is out of control. iPads.
Tipping is out of control. I do agree with that. You go to a convenience store, they ask for a tip. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. That's dumb.
Pickup counters have got to go.
Yeah, I don't mind tipping servers, but the iPads and pickup counters, not tipping that. That's
tipping whenever you get a coffee. Oh my God. Tipping DoorDash.
Like when I get a coffee, that's rich. Let me get this straight. You're so lazy, you don't want to go to McDonald's and get the food yourself, but you'll order it on DoorDash, knowing, and if you ever work DoorDash, you know what I'm talking about. It sucks. It freaking sucks. They don't make any money unless there's tips. Okay, they're actually losing. They're even losing money if they get just the bare minimum tips because the amount of wear and tear in their vehicle. It is a horrible job. But these people are so lazy. They'll order DoorDash for McDonald's, okay, and not even pay at least a couple bucks of tips, like $1, maybe $2. They can't. That's too much for them. They can't do that. But they got the convenience of getting the food delivered to them, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, DoorDash should pay them more." If DoorDash paid them more, they're going to jack up the price of that delivery. Oh, no, they're not. Yes, they will. That's how this works. Oh, then they should have just done that. Oh, okay. That's real rich, bro. It just sounds like a lot of coping. Sounds like a lot of freaking excuses for just being lazy. Not even being poor. Because if you have money to pay for the conveniences of having, let's say, McDonald's delivered to you, you have an extra $1 or $2 to give to that DoorDash driver. And it's weird that I'm like the guy who's pro workers here. I'm also, I mean, I don't know why I was that. I'm pro workers. I mean, I know I'm like pro capitalism. I want people to make money, and I want businesses to be able to make money too. But like, yeah, people who are like in service jobs, like, dude, like, they need tips. Like, it's kind of part of it. And you have like these lazy ass people who don't want to do it. Anyway.
Dashers before I've even received my food. Oh yeah, so it looks like a lot of people are really fed up with this kind of stuff, man. And I'm not surprised. I feel like nobody really likes having to tip, especially whenever, I mean, let's be real, guys.
I don't mind tipping if it's good service. If it's great service, even beyond that, oh yeah, I'll definitely tip. If it's bad service, no tip. Well, it might be like $1 because it sucks.
Everything has doubled in price in the last 5 years.
Oh my God. Okay, tell me more about that.
Memaybe not everything, but a lot of things have.
Everything has doubled in price. Dude, this Shiner was the same price it's been for you. I mean, come on, I haven't cracked it open. Asmongold sits on millions, lives in squalor, lives in filth. And these can tell me a story about he's too lazy to tip too cheap to tip.
A lot of things.
Oh, wait, let me guess. This argument's gonna be like, everything's expensive, so expensive to where we can't even tip. Bro, if you have money to eat out, you have money to tip. shut your mouth. If you are in America and you have money to eat out, you have money to tip. There is no rebuttal on that.
Have gone up in price ridiculously. And it's been...
Then why eat out? It would be cheaper if you went to a grocery store and got the things you're going to need and budget on that. But no.
In like this tiny little fucking window, and it's happened. And so this goes and happens. This is awful. Like, this is crazy. So people are getting pinched like crazy. They don't even know how to fucking...
People getting pinched shouldn't be eating out. Like, to the point where, like, what? No, not at all.
Make ends meet. They can't afford to do anything. They want to go and eat out to at least have something nice.
They want to eat out to something. Well, hold on. If they have, like I said, if they have money to eat out, they have $1 or $2 to spare for a tip there.
Then they've got to spend 20% on top of that because the
that 20% is not even the minimum. This is so dumb.
Owner of the restaurant.
And like, this is how, like, I know Asmongold doesn't get out and do this stuff because he's like 20%. And he's just taking, oh, that's the bare minimum. That's the expectation. I think it was like, what, 15% some places. Dude, you could just do 10%, okay? If you really want to be that cheap. I mean, this is so dumb. Like,
doesn't want to pay the worker? Get the fuck out of here. Absolutely not. And so you see everybody here because, like, for me, like, whenever I go out, I always tip. And I always tip a lot of money. Even if I get, you know, like, takeout, I will tip them money.
Well, that's nice for Osmond. Good. Okay.
Usually. Because it's like, I have a lot of money and I don't really care. It's like, I can help them. It's because you can, right? It's not a big deal. And so, but before, whenever I didn't have any money, I never tipped. I never.
And you were the customer that got the crappy service because of that. Oh, man, I hated customers like this guy. The guy who sit at the table, order food, not tip anything. Oh, I bet your service sucked the next time you went to that restaurant. I bet they're like, oh, there's that guy. We know him. He doesn't tip. All right, we're going to take forever to wait on his table.
Never tipped. And if I ever had to tip, I stole silverware to make up for the money.
What? Asmongold would steal silverware if he had to tip? What a loser.
That I got tipped for.
What? This is the guy who lives in... This guy has money now, but he still lives in filth. He lives in squalor. Have you ever seen his room he lives in? It's like piles of trash around him. And he doesn't clean up anything around him. It's a mess. It's a mess. Oh, my God.
Or that I had to tip for. And so I never did this. So, of course, this was not my thing. But now that I have the money, it's not a big deal. Like, I don't really give a fuck, right? However, we're already close to 25% inflation, but people can't...
Oh. I think he's trying to frame his argument like pro the poor person. When my thing here is, hey, man, if you have those sort of money problems, you shouldn't be eating out anyway. Maybe take a look at your budget. Maybe eating out is part of the reason why you have no money. Maybe figure that one out before you start when to sit down and can't even afford to tip a Denny's waitress. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, like, imagine someone going to IHOP being waited on and can't even afford to tip them $1. I'd spit on you. But what? All I ordered was a coffee. You sat down for like 30 minutes for an hour and they've been pouring you coffee waiting on you. I think you could afford it.
Afford 25% tip on top of 25% inflation. Yes, in England, nobody expects you to tip. It's odd how the U.S.
Well, that's an England thing. We're in America.
Say it's like an additional fee. People are becoming ungrateful and acting as though a tip is their right. There are a lot of waiters and
because it kind of isn't the expectation, isn't it? When they're being paid below minimum wage on that, it's like, yeah, they need it. It's kind of like, hey, tipping is the expectation when you go to a strip club. Well, yeah, that's kind of it. You know, I want to know if people are making this argument about that. You know, here's the other thing too. Asmongold's talking about this, and I'm sure his audience is loving what he's saying. Meanwhile, they will tip him in donations for the stuff he says. Oh, they have money for that, but they don't have money for tips. Shut up. This whole thing is so freaking dumb.
And people that work in the service industry that do feel that way. I see it all the time. And it's a big problem. I think so. I'm 100% in support of the tip, but it should be optional and voluntary.
It's not a problem. It's only a big problem if you buy into the tipping of like every little place, every little business. I mean, that's just ridiculous. There's even places that like want you to round up for charity. I don't do that. If I'm gonna donate to charity, I'll just donate to charity or do a campaign for charity. Okay.
American tipping.
Like when you go to like Taco Bell or whatever, they're like, "Hey, would you like to round up for this, that?" Like, no, I don't even know if you're giving them that money. No.
Culture is so stupid, but they only earn $2. Yeah, maybe look at this instead. Yeah. Isn't that the real problem? Not me. The wage service industry tip for $2.15. That's why there is a tip. That's why. Well, then maybe fix that. I agree. Tipping needs to end, and companies must
good luck fixing that.
Pay their people. Yeah, I feel like everybody is. I'm actually surprised, right? And if you don't want a tip, then don't use the service. It typically expects you to use a tip. Well,
that is true. Don't use the service then. I mean, that's a great take right there.
Well, I don't really think that's the case.
That is 100% the case there. And let's hear what you have to say here, Asmon.
I disagree with this because if you don't want to not get tips, don't get a job that you have to rely on them, and they might not.
Then at the same time, don't use that service knowing that they depend on tips. Otherwise, like I said in the framing of this video beforehand, you are also the asshole. That's how that works. That's how that works there. Because if you're going to say the employer is crapping, is giving the shaft on the employees, on the wait staff, and you go there and you partake on that, and you don't tip, guess what? You're stiffing them. You're also giving them the shaft. You're also crapping on them. So they're getting crapped on by the customer and crapped on by the employer. How does that help them? Oh, well, then they leave. Okay. They leave. And then during all that turmoil, your restaurants you like have to figure out things. They kind of close down. Well, before they close down, they're going to have a wait staff. They're just really, really crappy for a while. And then they close down. Then they have to refigure out things or pay. It'll be a whole thing. You guys don't want to go through that. You don't want to be inconvenienced like that because you'll be like, well, I don't understand. What's going on here? Yeah, there are some places where wait staff is paid like, I guess, like the same base minimum wage. Like, let's say like anywhere else. I think California, well, probably California or Oregon, have those rules. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Have those laws. In that case, well, I mean, in that case, it's completely optional. I mean, because I mean, if I lived in a state like that where it was like, well, they're already getting paid as the same as everybody else, then, I mean, then you have a better argument to be like, well, then why? The only other thing I can think of is if they gave you better service than the other, than what you expected, I suppose.
Happen. I feel like you can turn this around on the person who is doing the work very quickly.
Oh, and another thing about this. Servers do like tips. Servers love tips. Okay. The other side of this argument, the pro tipping. Okay. You can find that. There's wait staff pro tipping. Okay. And here I'm pro tipping in this situation because this is what is the framework. This is what they kind of live off of. I mean, they do live off of. And the reason why they like tipping is because they can make more doing that than working like a base minimum wage job. Okay. Especially, well, there's other things to factor in about like, getting, tips in cash and whether or not you claim it and all that stuff. There's the whole other stuff. It's been a while since I worked in that industry, and I think the rules have changed, especially. But there is a side of that like what's saying the wait staff are. I mean, they can make more. They can make more through tips as possible, and it does encourage better service. Like if you can incentivize better service, that's one way to do it. Hey, Not only are you doing your job, but you're doing your job well. Okay, here's an extra dollar. Here's $5 extra. Okay, but if like, you know, that's part of it. Anyway,
because it's like, okay, so you're working at this job where you can, you know, people can give you money or not, but you're choosing to work there. No. If you buy something on a menu, it should be that price. In Europe,
then don't go to that restaurant. I mean, it's that simple.
My understanding is it is literally illegal to have a price for something on that's stated, and then you go to the counter and it's a different price instead.
Oh my God. What are you... We're talking about a restaurant. We're talking about where you... It's illegal to do it. Asmongold has no idea what he's freaking talking about. Like, that's not what's happening here. Like, you're paying for the service. Oh my God.
And that's including sales tax. They have all of that in there. So, like, it's crazy how, like, not only do we have to pay sales tax that's not included in the original price, but on top of that, you also have a tip that's also included that is not on the original price as well. So it's like, it's not even deceptive in one way, it's deceptive in two ways. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think Europe has it right.
The only way it's deceptive is if, like, for some reason you didn't know that it was the expectation that if you go to like a Denny's or IHOP or let's say a Chili's or where a local Mexican restaurant, that you didn't have to tip. That's the only way, because everyone knows. Everyone in America knows. If you're sitting down and being waited on, you're tipping. You're tipping for the service. Okay. If you don't want to tip, you're gonna get shitty service, especially the next time you go there. They're gonna remember you. They're gonna remember you. All right.
Personally, I think that's a better solution. The sales tax thing is like, it's not really a big deal, but it is. I mean, 8% is a lot, right? Like, fuck, you spend $1,000, that's $80. That's a lot of fucking money. $80 is a lot of money. So,
I mean, on that part, if you have $1,000, $80 is not that much. But anyway,
yeah.
I mean, sales tax is what it is. I mean, I'd rather give 10% to good service than give like 9% to like this, you know, to the government. But whatever, just because there was a transaction there. But you know, that's a whole other thing.
Should be more like Japan, where it's offensive to tip. Tipping is a psyop that pits customer against...
All right. You want to where it's offensive to tip? Okay, then that's gonna be rolled into the prices. All right. It'd be like, look at the menus when you sit down with, man, that's a $20 burger? There's no way. What kind of meat do they have in that $20 burger? And it would be like, man, that's hypothetically, then it's like you go to a restaurant where there's no tipping, and the cost is rolled right into it. Oh, that $20 burger now turned into like a $30 burger. You know, it's something crazy like that.
It's wage worker to the benefit of the business owner. Holy fuck, that is true. Jesus Christ, that is true. Wow. Absolutely.
I mean, look at these guys. They're like framing like, oh, the whole system's wrong. We need to totally redesign it. You know, it's really the employer's fault. It's you know, exploitation in certain ways that they're getting at here. And it's like, okay, you could think that, but it doesn't change the fact that this is the current model now, and you guys partake in it, and you don't tip. You are the asshole. Okay.
Just walk into the kitchen, grab your own food, but a lot of people do tip, and it's not in your face and completely up to you. Yeah. I don't think tipping is like, I don't think tipping should be made like illegal or something like that. I don't think so at all. Like, it's just that if you
sound like what was he saying earlier? That isn't it illegal if like they made it seem like if you, the price of the menu should be what it is. But if they jack it up, isn't that illegal? Okay. All right.
have it and people feel like they have to do it, I do think that sucks. And it doesn't help anybody.
Well, I mean, you don't have to tip. And if you don't tip, don't be surprised next time you go there, they don't bother with you. They take very long to get to you. Okay?
Buddy. I don't think it helps the workers either.
It's kind of like being a cheap tightwad at a strip club. Those girls are not coming to you. They're not coming to you at all. Okay? All right? They'll be going to the other guys giving them money. Not you. You get no service. Everyone else is getting lots of service. You get no service. You get poor service. I mean,
It's the same in Australia. Restaurants have the lowest profit margin. If restaurants had to pay $15 an hour, there's no way any of them could survive. Well,
that is true. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the profit margin of a restaurant, even in the States, is pretty low. Especially if you're a small restaurant, like a small mom and pop restaurant. Yeah.
How is it that other countries that don't have tipping have restaurants?
I don't know. And I also don't really care, because I don't think you and I are, everyone's going to figure that out, because people will bring that up, but they don't know the reason why. They probably roll in the prices and other things. They're probably in the food, probably in the cost of something. Okay? Maybe they figured it out in that way, but it doesn't change the fact that this is the situation we're in.
Because, that's what's so crazy to me. Because, if you can't do, because how does that happen? Because there's a lot of other places that have restaurants and they don't have tips.
And I'm kind of curious how the service is there, too. Like a restaurant where the wait staff isn't paid in tips, isn't even expected tips. I'm also seeing an environment where there's no real extra incentive for them to do their job even better, to actually wait on the tables timely. I just don't see it unless there's some other incentives, or maybe the incentive is just to keep your job, not get complaints. But I mean, you try to complain to a restaurant now about how you got crappy service, and the waitress or waiter will be like, "Yeah, they're horrible tippers." Oh, I mean, that establishment is probably gonna take the side of the waiter or waitress. Okay, if you don't tip, you are seen as an asshole, and there's a reason for that. Now, once again, I know we're so far into this, and we're 40 minutes in this video. Spend too much time on this, especially when it's kind of the same points, right? Look, other places have different ways going about this, like in Europe, okay? But here in America, the expectation is that you do tip. And here we're talking about restaurants. I know there's other places, like you go to Starbucks, they expect a tip. I don't really care about that. Why? Or a convenience store expects tips now. I was like, no, I'm not tipping you. But if you sit down on an Olive Garden, okay, an Olive Garden or Benihana's, they don't have. Did they sell that? Yeah, Olive Garden, Chili's, things like that. Applebee's, you're waited on. They get you your drinks. They make sure your drinks are full. They're giving you the food. Yeah, you tip them for that service. Oh, but all they did was bring the food out. They're waiting on you at other tables too. It's a hard job, and you saying that tells me you've never worked as a server before. You saying that you're just pissing on that occupation there. You're pissing on that job. You're pissing on that worker. No. If you are waited on in that way, the sit-down restaurant, you pay for that service. You give them a tip. And you could choose not to, but it does make you an asshole. You could be like, oh, well, the employer should be, once again, go back into those arguments. But I'll be like, well, got to tell you something. You're also the asshole. Because if you're going to say, oh, the employer's crapping on the employee by not paying them right, and you go there, and you know that, and you know what the expectation is, and you don't tip, you're also part of that crapping on. You're part of the crap on fest of the employee, okay? You're participating in the crap bukkake, if you will. Okay? And that's just sad. That's just sad. We're like 7 minutes into this, and I don't know. Already I'm enraged. Already, I'm just like, Asmon, like why? Like, I kind of get it though. You know, I kind of knew that he was a cheap guy. He's a cheap guy. He's a cheap guy. But that is what it is. You know, I'm here, a side of the servers, side of the workers here, and I'm sure I'll get some downvotes from people who are like, I don't know, they'll say they're too poor to tip, but yet they have money for, like, you know, eating out and stuff, which is a joke. Okay. So with that said, you guys let me know how you feel about this on the whole tipping thing. Do you tip for good service? Do you? Let me know. Let me know. And I'm sure you're going to give me the same predictable excuses why you don't. I mean, AI can generate that stuff. It's so predictable, man. Anyway, with that said, you guys take it easy and have a good one.